Hey everyone, and welcome to the season 3 premiere of the Local Influencers podcast. So today is a good podcast because I'm here with Monica, and she is the owner of 2020 Vintage, and that is in downtown Corpus Christi. I'm really excited to talk to her because vintage things are people don't understand how cool they are. How I think the younger generation forgets like how just I don't know, it just takes you back in time and it's hip now, and it kind of goes to show that everything kind of comes back around in style or in, whatever it is. So thank you, Monica, for being here today.
Thank you so much, Abel. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and we are also going to be talking about a new venture that you're taking part in, called the People's Market, and
Yeah,
we'll get into that just a little bit towards the end of the podcast.
right on.
So,
Sounds great.
so let's start with 2020 vintage. When did you come up? When did you start that, and how did you come up with the name?
So 2020 has been around since July of 2019. I was actually in a little antique store here in Corpus Christi and decided that it would be best if I actually ventured and to open my own business. This way, I could run it how I would like to promote my brand. And so in July, I was downtown, and I just so happened to be at Shells Marie Boutique. And she is the one that told me about a property that the downtown management had reached out to her about. And it's the property that I am now, which is at 423 William Street. So I had already come up with the name 2020 Vintage, and it was just a play on words. It's the tagline for 2020 Vintage is a vision for vintage and unruly things, and so that was the play on words, the 2020 vision. But with instead of vision, it was vintage. So that's kind of how that name came to be, and I liked it, and it stuck. And after 2019, we had 6 months under our belt. 2020 was around the corner, and everybody's like, "Wow, what a great name! You have the best name for your vintage shop." And I was like, "Yeah." And then COVID hit, and so so the entire year of 2020, anytime I saw an article or something that was being published for 2020, I immediately thought of 2020 vintage. So it was just like, oh, they're not talking about me. They're talking about COVID.
So let's talk about COVID because obviously it has affected everyone. I actually am still recovering from COVID. I had it in January.
Oh,
Um,
dear.
and when I got diagnosed with it, I was diagnosed with both flus as well at the same time.
Wow.
So they really tried to take me out. Someone had it out for me, but I'm here.
Right on.
Anyways, so let's talk about COVID. How did that affect your business? And were you able to kind of pivot and start offering like curbside or anything like that, or did you just stay closed for a period of time?
Well, we actually closed our doors before the state mandate was issued to promote safety and to curtail on the spread of the virus. So we went ahead and closed, and I sat with my employee, and we talked about options that we could do. And one of those options, as you said, was to offer curbside assistance as well as local delivery. And I really hammered our social media platforms. So Facebook, Instagram. I don't have a website, and that was something that I had started during COVID, and I just haven't finished. So, oh, it's one of those headaches. But nonetheless, our platform on Instagram blew up, and we were really fortunate because everything we posted, people were engaged in, and so it just increased our our traffic on the internet. And as soon as we were able to open our doors back up in May, then we had a consistent following of people. And the West, which is a women's entrepreneurs society,
Hmm.
had a virtual market, and we were a part of that, and that was really successful. So we staged several vignettes of goods. Mainly, it was purses and jewelry and belts, just something that was very simple, and did these posts on Instagram, and that really took off. So if it wasn't for west of Corpus Christi, the downtown management district, other influencers here in our community. I don't know if we would have survived the closures, but luckily we had a brand and a product that people were that people liked, and so we just went with what people were liking, and we were able to keep our doors open, and we continue to do very well. We try to focus on nonprofits as well as our brand, which we tie a lot of fundraisers, or not necessarily fundraisers, but sales. Percentage of our sales go to different nonprofits here in the community.
That's great. I love that. And so far, everyone I've interviewed is always trying to somehow give back. And that is exactly the reason why I wanted to start this podcast. It amazes me that even through times of COVID, when everyone is struggling, everyone is still willing to help their neighbor somehow. And
Oh, absolutely.
that's just amazing. Um, I know this podcast won't come out for months, a couple months from now, but like you said, like right now, y'all have something going through. It just ended yesterday, where partial sales were going to the CC Mutual Corpus Christi Mutual Aid.
Yes.
So you do definitely give back to the community, and I love that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Well, they do so much. The Coastal Bend Foundation, the Coastal Bend Pride Center, the at the time it was Period Corpus Christi. They've since changed their name, but and then of course Corpus DSA and the Corpus Christi Mutual Aid. We have been actively supporting those nonprofits here in our community because it affects what's going on with COVID and closures, hurricane, and now the freeze at this horrible polar vortex that we just went through. It's amazing how the community has come together. Strong together, 361 strong together. I think I said that right. Maybe I didn't, but nonetheless, Lisa at Vine Juice was a huge proponent during COVID and really stepped up and brought businesses together to support one another and to let people know that the best way to support a business is to buy locally. And that was one of the greatest things that could have happened for 2020 vintage. So we were really grateful for our community. They have just been an outpouring of success because of them here, for 2020 and all the other businesses that were affected by COVID.
yeah, for sure. It's funny you speak to Vine Juice. I'm actually trying to get them on for season 3 as well. So we will
Yeah,
see about that.
Lisa's
Um,
great.
yes. So let me I was looking at your Instagram, and it does look like you have like a lot of fashionable items. Fashion accessories seems to be a big thing, kind
Mhm.
of like what you said. Now, do you take those photographs, or do you have like a professional photographer do that? Because the images are almost magazine worthy. They look really good, a lot of them. They're not, it doesn't look like you were just like snapping it with your phone. So I have to ask.
Yeah, so I was fortunate to work with Jaden Taylor. His Instagram handle is Birds the Name, and he is a phenomenal photographer. And I've worked with other photographers that are just as equally as good, but Jaden and I have a really mutual bond, I think, in that we like to work with each other. I think he knows what I like, and he knows what he likes without ever really having to say anything, and the pictures just come to life. He has an amazing eye in photography, and if I tell him, I want this outfit to move, he will make the outfit move. If I want some kind of feature on a certain, like let's say the detail of the button, or the detail of the collar, or the jewelry, he really focuses in on that and does it in such a artistic way that, like you said, it is magazine quality. And I'm really grateful for him, because I think that what is what is what people want to see is, they want to see the detail of the fabric, and that's what's important to me when it comes to vintage. Is that these pieces have been around for, some of them, over 100 years, some of them 50, some of these, some 25, some maybe even 10, but the detail of the fabric and the workmanship and the craftsmanship of each piece is really unique. And that's why I love vintage clothing, because you just, without having to pay thousands and thousands of dollars, you don't see this kind of work when you go shop at a big box store. So we I am not a huge fan of the fast fashion, but I can't say that I've never bought it. But I will say that I do have pieces in my closet that are over 100, or 50 years old, that are still in great quality shape. And I don't think that you find that from the pieces of clothing that are being produced today, without like
Awesome.
without it being like a couture line. So
Yeah, and that's a part of the reason I was going to ask you next was what attracted you, what to vintage in general, but you've kind of answered that. It's the quality of it, it's not fast fashion, it's not we're going to make 3,000 of these shirts because we saw it off the runway.
right,
The runway, it took probably 50 to 60 people to make an outfit,
right,
and
exactly,
it was you see rhinestones, they're hand stitched, not like manufactured through a machine.
right,
And then the quality is obviously going to be better. So
right,
yeah, I agree, fast fashion is I also think it's there because it tends to be cheaper, a little bit more budget friendly. But if you invest in something, you're going to have it for, like you said, 20, 50 years. So
right. And
invest where you want.
right. And you did say something in the beginning about how things cycle back, and
Hmm.
they do. And of course, I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever clean out your closet, because businesses like myself, we wouldn't survive if you didn't. But those really amazing pieces, they will come back, and you can repurpose a lot of these pieces as well. In fact, I just had somebody come by and drop off some pieces for me that they had, and I was looking at the buttons, and how can I repurpose the buttons, and how can I repurpose a dress that a maxi dress that is completely torn on the bottom. And so that's what we're a new focus is, to try to repurpose these pieces, because they're so fine, they're so fabulous, but they're stained, or there's something wrong, or they've torn or whatnot, or the fabric is coming apart. But if we can repurpose those fabrics, then we're just eliminating the land, the that was a bird. Sorry, that hit
No
me.
problem.
We can eliminate the amount of waste in our landfill. So
Yeah, great. So, let's move on to the People's Market because I love
yeah,
this idea. Um, so it's going to be held downtown Corpus on the third Sunday of every month, correct?
that is correct.
Um, and it's going to be on 615 North Chaparral Street.
Mhm.
If you're from Corpus, you know where Chaparral Street is. Head down there, third Sunday of every month, and it's going to host a variety of vendors, and it's also which are supporting local nonprofits. Tell me, how did this come about? How did the idea of this just form? And um yeah, how did it just come about? Because that's such a cool thing, the People's Market. It's I think that there's like a tagline. It says a reoccurring market by the people for the people.
Right,
I
right.
love
And
that.
yeah, so I could not have done this. We had our first market on Sunday, yesterday, which was February the 21st. And it was so successful. And I think everybody that participated had a great time. But none of this could have been possible without Sam and El Loco Collective. She actually came to 2020 to talk to Jose, who's an employee of mine, about doing something like this. And he actually had mentioned to her that I had been talking about doing something in the downtown area to have a reoccurring market. And this wasn't to take away from the South Side Market or the Grow Local uh, uh, here, or the Wednesday Market at the Art
This is
Center.
like in
Uh,
addition to.
Right, exactly. There's, numerous markets. So the Heritage Park bus is having a reoccurring market, as well as, some little pop-ups that occur during the spring and summer months. But we just wanted to have something that was going to be a reoccurring market, and it was going to focus on things or goods that were being made by the people in our community. And so that was the focus that I wanted. I when Sam approached me about it, we talked, and I think we, because of what she does and my vision of what the market, we just merged really nicely together. And she is amazing. She's really amazing at pulling it all together, because I am not savvy with a computer. I mean, aside from, opening it up and start doing a search, but she can, with the vendor applications and the fees that are collected are to pay for the music and any kind of outside promotion that we're doing. And then the proceeds from our future is that the proceeds from that market, if they're, that would go to the nonprofit or the philanthropy part of the whole purpose of the People's Market. And not only just, well, the whole purpose is to bring these artists or artisans or bakers and musicians to the forefront in Corpus Christi, because a lot of times we just don't know about these people. Don't have A lot of these people don't have brick and mortar buildings, and so in order to find who these people are, I think this is a great avenue for them. And then tie in the nonprofit to make it, because the nonprofits are providing a service for the people. So that's kind of how it all came to be. And we met, I think, in January, and we were able to pull off our first market successfully with just a couple of little hiccups because of spacing, and that's my fault. But I think overall everybody was really supportive, and we had a great turnout. The Corpus Christi Caller Times did a really nice article on it. So I think with the more exposure, and of course your podcast, I think more and more people will be coming out. So I'm really excited for it. And thank you so much for asking, because it's really
Yeah,
something that I think Corpus is going to be really positive. There's going to be a positive outcome from it.
I'm so excited to attend next month in March because this month, obviously, I'm like I told you before the call, recovering from COVID, so I'm kind of wary about going out and about in public still, you know.
Yeah, and that's
But
good concern.
I am excited about going out next month and heading out, being a little bit more healthy, you know.
Right.
Um, I am
Well,
excited about that, and I'm Sam from a local. She is um Corpus Christi. We're lucky to have someone like her here.
I
I
agree.
met her maybe a month or two ago, and we are collaborating now. Where she's hosting my podcast on her website, and then we're also collaborating. We hope to do some secret things in the future, and
Nice.
so and it's all to benefit Corpus Christi. Like it's all to
Yeah.
benefit small business owners and entrepreneurs and um, people thought I was kidding whenever I started this podcast. Like, who do you want to interview? You know, just small business owners. And I'm like, no, I want to interview, you know, a small business owner anywhere, anybody from a small business owner to a drag queen. And I have done that already in two
Nice.
seasons. So it's I just love it. And I love talking to people like you that I can tell you're so passionate about what you do. You're passionate about giving back to the community. And
Absolutely.
it gets me excited for the future because in the future I do hope to host like after we all can get our vaccines and stuff
Yeah.
or you know COVID has died down a little. I
Mhm.
do hope to host like networking events with everyone that I've interviewed where we all can kind of get together and brainstorm what can we do for the community and kind of do that like a once a month type of thing. So that's something that I hope to do for everyone. So
I think
um
it's really important that for so long Corpus had been stale, and I'm 52, and my youngest child is 18 now. And for that time period while I was raising my children, I was a stay-at-home mom, and really was focused on them and what they were doing, whether it was sports or academics or working with their school, volunteering. I volunteered a whole lot. So I kind of missed out about 15, 20 years of just not seeing what was going on in Corpus. And I've met so many amazing people. And it's that 35, and younger. Um, between, I would say, definitely like the 26 to 35-year olds are really bringing a lot of information and a lot of diversity to our city, which I think we didn't have for so long. And I'm so fortunate to, because we have this vintage market. I mean, I'm sorry, this vintage store. I've met so many great people that are doing so many great things. I had no idea. And I think a lot of it, of course, was my time was being wrapped up with my children, but I feel like I missed out. And so I'm so glad that what you're doing, people like Sam, Lisa, Terry Moore at Wildflowers, of course, these are older women, but I think they've kind of laid down the forefront of how we're promoting these local businesses to succeed here in Corpus Christi. And it all comes back to our community, and then when we tie something into like our nonprofit, it just makes it even better. And there's some great nonprofits here in Corpus Christi that are doing amazing things. So I'm really happy to be part of that.
Same, really. So before we go,
Okay.
I just want to give you a chance. This is your chance to plug everything and anything you want to plug. Where can people find you physically? Your store's address. If you want to give a store phone number, a
Yeah.
website, like you said, you're working on a website, social media, everything. Now's the
Yeah.
chance to do that.
Right on. Okay. Well, first of all, Abel, thanks so much for the time that we've met. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and ask me about 2020 Vintage, which is definitely a new little eclectic vintage store in downtown Corpus Christi. We're located on William Street. It is now Lomax. So that address is kind of confusing because on Google it's 423 William, but on the street signs it'll say Lomax. So that's kind of confusing, but we're right next to the Rebel Toad Brewery. And then we're open Tuesday through Sunday. We are always closed on Monday. And those days that that day that we're closed, we usually do sourcing or offer styling or one-on-one shopping for people who are still concerned about COVID. We do definitely try to accommodate those special requests. And then every first Friday, we do art walks. So our shop does stay open till 9 o'clock. So people can come out and support the local artists as well as come in to the businesses that are open. I know we're still doing a hybrid market. So it's online as well as some vendors in the downtown area have chosen to be open, and we are one of them. So definitely, I believe the next art walk is the 5th of March, or yeah, March 5th. So that's always a fun time to come out to downtown Corpus Christi. There's so much going on. Definitely save the third Sunday of every month for the People's Market. Always follow us on Instagram at the People's Market CC for all updated information, vendor application, and any new information or vendor information for the upcoming pop-ups. So trying to think what else there is there.
And what about the 2020 Vintage, your Instagram handle for that?
Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you for reminding me. So that's at 2020_vintage. And then we are also on Google, Facebook as well, 2020_vintage. Google, we're just under 20/20 vintage. So that is our brand, and we'll be happy. Oh, and if my information as far as the business telephone number is 361-244-2781, and that's my personal cell phone. So if you want to call, if you want to prank call me, that's fine. I always
Don't do
need to
that,
laugh.
guys. Be serious, guys.
But
Our listeners would never do that.
no, no, no. But anytime people have a question about any of our posts or our pieces that we do post on social media, they can easily text or call we hope to answer those phone calls as quickly as we get them.
Awesome. That is great. So again, thank you so much for being here. Sorry about the
Absolutely,
hiccup
Abel.
this morning.
No worries.
Yeah,
It's all
but
good.
thank you. And I'm
Uh,
so excited to have you on for our season 3 premiere.
Thank you.
Again, thank you so much. And for the listeners, until we speak next time, please make sure you head out and visit somewhere cool in Corpus. Talk to you soon, guys.